Today, we are going to be in conversation with a very special guest who is joining us from Fiji in our digital studio. The person with whom we are going to have this conversation is the newly appointed CEO of an organization by the name of Investment Fiji. Investment Fiji is the premium organization of Fiji to attract foreign investment into the Fiji. And recently, this organization has been legislated and assigned with a new responsibility of preparing Fiji's company to invest abroad as well. And leading this new mandate is the newly appointed CEO of this organization, Mr. Kamal Chetty. So Mr. Kamal is joining us digitally from Suva today. Very good afternoon to you, Kamal. How are you today?
Good afternoon. I'm doing very well. Hope you're doing fine.
Surely we are. Mr. Kamal, from what we have been hearing that during the current COVID pandemic time, when the world is reeling with some kind of economic depressive environment, what we are seeing is that Fiji is booming with a lot of energy and a lot of hope and a lot of dynamism within the economy. So can you very quickly walk us through what's happening in Fiji's economy right now?
Yeah, thank you, first of all, for having us. And it's indeed our pleasure to be here to talk to you and discuss about our economy and what's currently happening. We are very optimistic about the situation currently in Fiji. And I'm sure you've been following up with our economic situation. But let me put things on a global context. Obviously, globally, specifically in our space, there is still a lot of uncertainty. There is a lot of, a lot of things happening globally in terms of geopolitical situation or what's happening with other economies. It impacts Fiji as well. So there is, all these risks currently that is there. But for Fiji, obviously, since we opened our borders quite early in the Pacific, one of the first countries to do so, has led us to, if you really look at the tourism, which is one of our mainstay of the economy, has really done well. The numbers have picked up. We have a lot of Australians, New Zealanders coming into Fiji. And if you look at figures recently released by Fiji Airways and also Tourism Fiji, it looks very promising. And in terms of overall, if economic activity in the country has been doing well, you must have seen latest release by Reserve Bank. There is a bit of optimism that the economy will grow at about 12.4%. And that's basically driven by a lot from tourism and what has happened with the borders opening. So a lot of people are confident. I think we went early in terms of, vaccination. There was a lot of promotion done by government, a lot of effort done by the government itself to make it happen. So that has led to us opening up the borders and has created a bit of economic activity after that. So that has led to a bit of economic growth projected for us.
Surely. Well, that's a very good introduction, Kamal. Now, let's move on and talk to something very latest. From what we have learned, that Investment Fiji has signed a memorandum of understanding with outsourcing industry. And not many people here in New Zealand would know that Fiji is fast emerging as a global hub of outsourcing industry. So can you walk us through more about what was involved in that pact and how Fiji is shaping up as a outsourcing industry?
Yeah, thank you. I think that's an exciting space for us as an organization, as an investment and trade promotion agency. If you look at Fiji, obviously after COVID, we've realized it's important to, it's very important to diversify our economic base. Fiji has been relying on tourism for a while. So that has led us to, outsourcing is not really a new sector for Fiji, but it has really, done well during COVID. In fact, if you look at, I'm sure you've looked at recent releases from Outsourcing Council and from us, during COVID, it created 3,000 new jobs in the country. And that has led to, that grew, the industry actually grew during COVID. And currently we have about 7,000 seats, which means about 7,000 people are employed in that industry. But with a number of competitive advantage we have globally, if you see it, things like, accent, neutral English accent, also the cost, the time zone, our high literacy rate, a number of things has led us to really look at, and this sector is something that will help us diversify the economic base of the country. And because of that, you must have seen us doing with Outsourcing Council a lot of activities. We're creating, a network of, whatever I'd say, an ecosystem that is able to assist investors. So that is the reason we have signed MOU with Outsourcing Council, and everything we believe we're working as the Team Fiji, and that will really let us attract good investment into the country. And we can't do all things on our own, so we working with partners around us. And with our resource constraints, especially in the Pacific, it's very important to work with right partners or right people that are going to help you achieve that goal. So that is the reason that has led us to sign an MOU, and it's an exciting space. Everyone is really looking forward to it, and we've been doing a lot of activities, and I'm sure that's what you follow in terms of what we've been doing this summer.
Surely, definitely. And talking about partners, as you say, so let's talk about what kind of partnership we can have between New Zealand and Fiji. Recently, a business delegation led by New Zealand Fiji Business Council arrived in Fiji, and they have a very successful visit over there with few foreign investment going from New Zealand to Fiji as well. So can you enlighten more about the outcomes of that visit?
Yeah, thank you. I think, with borders opening up, we've been really wanting to do this for last 2 years, but we couldn't. But now with borders opening up, what we did is that allowed us to do that face-to-face or physical meeting. And I think it was very successful. As I mentioned, there's a lot of partners even in New Zealand for us. But let me step back a bit. You see the New Zealand government's commitment to also Fiji in terms of appointing a trade commissioner for the Pacific. David, who is based here in Suva, has really built a network where we're working together, and also the business council that is there has played an important role. So it was an exciting 1 week for us. We had a 1 week program. We went throughout the country. There were a number of presentations done. There was a conference at the end of the forum that has led a lot of B2B meetings. So in total, we organized about 90 B2B meetings for different individual New Zealand and Fijian companies. At the same time, there was few registration in outsourcing space. So we've got 2 companies that have registered out of that mission that are going to start in Fiji very soon. So that's, I think, was exciting for us, and we're looking forward to more physical interaction. I think that's more important now for people.
Right. Yes. And coming back to the relations between New Zealand and Fiji in terms of economy, tourism is indeed one of the major movers, and Fiji always look forward to getting more tourists coming from New Zealand. And outsourcing, as you have rightly pointed out, is the new area or is booming currently. What other key emphasis areas you have pointed out where you can see more collaboration between New Zealand and Fiji?
Yeah, I think generally what we have done as an organization, we've done a new strategic plan that kind of, as part of that strategy, what we have done is studied Fiji and the comparative advantage we have as a country. So we looked at different countries where we can export to or where we can get investment out of. At the same time, we looked at which sectors as a country we have comparative advantage in. By comparative advantage, I mean there's an ecosystem available. There is a different advantage that we have when we compare to other countries. So as part of that strategy, we've also identified New Zealand as a key market. And I think these, because of our relationship with New Zealand, with the people, Fijian diaspora, a large number of them in New Zealand, there's a lot of opportunities we can explore between 2 countries. Just a bit on what interest currently looks like. In 2021, we registered about 15 projects from New Zealand, but it was before COVID, it was more. But I think it's important that shows there is still interest in Fiji from New Zealand investors. But if you look at opportunities that we're trying to explore, obviously is tourism-related joint ventures and investment. I think there would be an opportunity for New Zealand businesses to look at Fiji. Things like sports tourism, medical tourism within the tourism segment. There is also, in manufacturing sector, we see opportunities where New Zealand businesses can take advantage of. BPO space, outsourcing space is there also. Commercial agriculture, I think New Zealand is doing really well. Fiji can really take advantage of them and learn from them. And also, I think in real estate space, if you really explore real estate space in Fiji, tourism-related real estate, there's a lot of interest from New Zealand, investors or small investors that are a bit small, not very large, but they're looking at investing into Fiji, have shown a lot of interest. So I see and very summarized from that some of the opportunities that we can tap between New Zealand and Fijian companies.
Sure. And talking about that real estate investors that you are looking in New Zealand to go and invest in Fiji, and you are looking for not big corporate investors, you're looking for day-to-day mom and dad investors. So what efforts Investment Fiji are taking to promote Fiji within New Zealand investors? Are you doing anything separate? Are you planning any visit or any display of opportunities available for them in Fiji?
Yeah, as I mentioned, we're not only looking at small investors, but more into, we obviously looking at corporate investors and large investors. But in real estate space, we have seen a lot of homes being bought in Fiji by New Zealand investors. That's a trend we have seen. So we think there is an opportunity that they'll continue to invest into smaller properties that are available in tourism space they can obviously. It has a lot of return for them, but larger scale of things. We're looking for investors from New Zealand. We're talking to a number of them, large businesses out of New Zealand. They are talking to us and looking at Fiji as a potential, investment destination for them. So for our promotion activities, obviously we've got a trade office in New Zealand that continues to work very hard to get investment and export deals for Fiji. So we work very closely with them. We specifically haven't planned anything for New Zealand for time being, but I know, and before end of this year, we will be, getting a private investment delegation out of Fiji into New Zealand. We're doing one next week to, if you look at Australia, we're taking about 34 companies with us to Australia next week, where we'll be promoting Fijian companies and Fijian products and investment in Australia. The similar thing we want to and are planning for New Zealand. And we will, keep you updated as we firm the dates and other things.
Right, and that coincides with the change of mandate for Investment Fiji that we briefly discussed at the start. That now Investment Fiji is not just about attracting investment into the Fiji, but also taking investment overseas abroad as well. And you have rightly pointed out that Fiji is already eyeing New Zealand and Australia as a key market, and probably. You would be coming here with an investment delegation. But from what we know, that there has been already few forays by some Fijian companies who have actually launched their products here in New Zealand market. So would you be able to enlighten us more about that?
Yeah, in terms of, let me just go back a bit. In terms of a mandate, obviously the change that has occurred with us is Investment Fiji all this while was an investment promotion agency, but also an investment monitoring agency. So we're monitoring investment. So we have taken that out of our mandate. So we'll be fully fledged investment and trade promotion agency that is going to assist investors, facilitate investors, and try to attract the right kind of investment for Fiji. So that's kind of the mandate. But if you look at what we want to actually do in New Zealand and want to do all our activities, I think it's very closely linked to our trade office. So we work very closely with our trade office. And as part of that whole situation, we've managed to get some new companies into New Zealand. So, there's a number of companies you must have heard recently about Bikabai, going into sweets market in New Zealand. There's few others that we are working on specifically on kava, agriculture products, and some others into timber and other things. So, mineral water also. So there's a range of companies that we're currently working on to enter New Zealand market. But I think we have to also understand the situation in New Zealand at the moment. But as New Zealand is going to pick up in terms of the economy, I think then we'll have more opportunities to tap into.
You're right. Okay. And I think you have already preempted a question and answered it, that I was going to ask you that what are the key areas of capabilities within Fiji companies in terms of sector-wise, where you think they can excel in overseas market, including in New Zealand and Australia. So would there be any more sectors or areas which Investment Fiji would be lying to build upon?
Yeah, I think for us, it's we've got a marketing plan, or we've got a plan for New Zealand market, and we know what kind of products we want us to do more work on in New Zealand market. So, be it an agriculture product, be it in any product, manufacturing product that are from Fiji that can be done well in Fiji because of our large diaspora market also that can be taken advantage. Not only Fiji, but I think we have a large Pacific diaspora market that we can take advantage of. So things like taro, all those things are important market for Fiji in terms of products. So have done well there. So we've recently seen, products like turmeric, ginger that have done well. So obviously we can explore. We are working with a pineapple into New Zealand market. So we've also exploring that as an option. There's a number of them that we can take advantage of. But I think, coming back to your investment question, if you look at investment related, advantage that we can take advantage of is there's a lot of Fijian companies that are in Fiji that has appetite to invest more, specifically on tourism space, green manufacturing space, or other be energy space or green space. There's a lot of potential for you to tap and work with Fijian companies here. So I think there's also exploring that space that will assist us to grow more investment for both countries.
Right, that's great. Thank you very much for that, Kamal. And now a couple of last questions. The one thing that we want to know, that as an organization, Investment Fiji, what kind of support or relationship you want to nurture more with the Fijian diaspora, the Fiji Indian diaspora and the broader Fijian diaspora here in New Zealand? How do you think they can support your organization and Fiji in growing the relationship between the two countries?
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting question, because what we do is we do think about that here at Investment Fiji. And we think, we've seen if you look at our trend, there's a lot of Fijian businesses or Fijian diaspora that living overseas have come and invested in Fiji a lot. And one thing I think it's very important to follow is our remittance level. So during COVID, there's a lot of remittance. In fact, remittance have grown for Fiji. That shows the support that our people that stay in New Zealand provide to population here. So I think that also kind of reflects to an investment level. So how we as an organization take advantage of that. So we've got a plan around it. We are reaching out to them. They play an important role. So for example, our Australia event, we've got a specific program that is for diaspora only. We'll be going out to them and providing them the opportunities available. So similar to that, we have a plan with ourselves that we will work towards or try to attract investment from them. Some of them are quite successful and have done well, and we'll be happy to have their businesses here to invest and contribute to the country that they're born in. So with that, I think there is also, immigration has also provided certain advantage to them in terms of offering them dual citizenship, easy access into the Fijian market. So all those, I think, are contributing to a lot of them coming and investing in Fiji. So we've got a number of them that have, come and developed a lot of properties in real estate. There's also in tourism that they invested. So we continue to, I think, tap into that relationship. It's not only for New Zealand, but overall, globally. You must have seen recently Fiji Airways announcing, going into Vancouver directly. So we've got a big Fijian diaspora there. So I think all those things are linkages that we have to provide to bring them back, and so they can contribute. And we as an organization obviously have a plan around it, and we know how do we really talk to them, or how will we approach them, and what are the methods to reach out to them.
Sure. No, thank you very much for that, Kamal. Now, one last question before I let you go for today, that it has been probably around 2 odd months since you have taken this role of full-fledged CEO of Investment Fiji. You have been otherwise looking after the role as an acting CEO. And since last 2 odd months, probably you had a very busy itinerary. You have already been traveling all over the world. So just want to know, what is the strategic plan you have set for yourself for the next 6 months, or maybe till the end of the year? And what exactly you want to achieve?
Thank you. I think that's a question I was asked first day. I joined this organization. I took as acting CEO. But just a bit of background of myself. I've been with the organization for a while. I've been working for Investment Fiji last 14 years, and understand the situation and the transition that we've gone through as an organization. So that's the experience I bring. And before this, I was head of investment and trade promotion. So quite familiar with global network in Investment Fiji, and we built that over the years. So as part of coming into this role, specifically during COVID, it was a different challenge as no one seen before. So for us, it was more about looking at things that we do well and how can we continue to do those things better. So this one of the things we realized is a lot of things have changed globally in terms of investment and trade. So we wanted to have a very good strategic plan, which we have developed. So our vision is not a short term or 6 months or a 1 year vision. It's more of 3 to a 5 year vision. And obviously, we have to make an impact in the economy. So what we looked at, if you look at Fijian economy, obviously one was economic recovery. The other one, I think important, was diversification of the Fijian economy. So based on that, what we have done is we've developed our strategic plan. I initially mentioned there's two things that we did. One is obviously we looked at, how do we fare ourselves as an investment promotion agency globally or as a country as a whole. So we looked at in very detail, in a very scientific way, we've calculated our developed comparative advantage documents, which looks at our different sectors, the sectors we're going to target that will assist us, get very quick wins very fast. And the other thing we did was obviously within that, look at the markets. That's where we have networks in or advantage in as a country that we can take advantage of. So that's the first strategy, and it's a very detailed strategy on, one day I can really go in detail and share with you what really it has. And then the second part we did as an organization, obviously we had to deliver. So as part of that delivery, what we did is we developed a new marketing plan that is, looking at the resources that is available with us and with techniques that will make an impact, not really going out and spending a lot of money, but spending in a very good way, efficient way. So that's our marketing plan. We've also got a aftercare plan, which is basically what support do we provide to our local businesses and foreign businesses for them to grow in the country. So that includes looking at the business environment here. How do we really, as an organization, impact on the business environment and are active? So we create a better business environment for the investors. Generally not only foreign but domestic investors. We also have developed a new stakeholder plan because we rely a lot on global contacts. A lot of people that are globally supporting us to bring investment into Fiji, especially being a Pacific country. Mm-hmm. So we developed a stakeholder plan within that. So it's a very detailed document that really will set a platform for us as an organization. So that's kind of my strategy at the moment. So we've done the strategic plan. Now it's time to implement and get them started. And you must have seen our activities. Globally, we are really going out there and promoting Fiji. And we are aware of global situation that is happening. So we keeping tabs.
Surely. Definitely, you have made a very comprehensive strategic plan and you are already on a very busy itinerary. From what we recall, probably you have been already to overseas couple of visits. So one last question before I let you go. When are you planning to be in Auckland or in New Zealand in near future?
We're planning it very soon. We should be there by, I think, before end of this year. I'm totally committed to doing an activity in New Zealand, important market for us. So we'll be there very soon.
Great. Okay. Thank you very much, Kamal. I really appreciate you sharing your time and your insight and vision with Investment Fiji and sharing your future strategic plan. I wish you all the best. I wish you all the best in the role and for Investment Fiji and for the Fijian economy. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having us. Thank you for giving us the chance. Obviously, anytime you need to know anything about Fiji, let us know, and we'll be happy to facilitate.
Perfect.